David, we just touched on the social side of farming. Can you tell us a bit about that, and I guess, you know, the importance of that and the consideration of the social implications of what farmers are doing, you know, what you're doing compared to what you might have been doing, and also, you know, what questions, you know, if anyone who's interested in looking at what you're doing or considering it, what sort of questions, and I guess I'm thinking about more sort of social questions that they ask themselves as to, are they happy, are they doing what they want to be doing, and do they feel purposeful? I mean, you know, what's your take on that?
Okay. Well, I think the holistic management framework, if you want to call it that, the decision-making framework, was an attempt by Alan Savory to try and get away from this mindset of just having an economic relationship with the land. Obviously, economics is an important part of it, but I was just saying to Charlie a minute ago that we found that maybe I was a poor manager, but you know, we found that when we were you know, going hell for leather with our foot on the accelerator, we actually weren't going that well financially. We were gradually, every time there was a drought, we'd go $100,000 in reverse, and that creates a lot of pressure on families. So you know, you've got the bank worrying about you, and you worrying about the bank. You're worrying about the weather. If you're growing crops, you've got the twice annual ride from euphoria to despair as the season changes. And so it all, you know, it's very easy to get tipped over the edge if you're not incredibly stable, and those things can bring you undone. But when you get into making holistic decisions, which are more about the people side of the business itself, and then the future landscape that's going to support that business into the long distant future while it improves rather than degrades, that writing that down it's quite difficult. It's a stumbling block for a lot of people, I think, but it's incredibly important. If you can get your family to write down how they want to live, that is a really important thing, because then you can start making decisions towards what you want. And when you do that, you'll find you'll be getting what you want more often than doing a whole lot of things that are dictated by other people who don't know what you want. So it puts you in the driver's seat. Firstly, from a family point of view, a personal point of view, you're much more likely to be satisfied with what you're doing if you put some work into articulating what it is that you want. Basically, it's how do you want to live based on your values. We all tend to have values. Mostly we don't do things that violate our values. We like to make decisions in sync with our values. And if you're doing that, that's it has a very calming influence on you, I've found. So I think it's seriously underplayed, the importance of that. You know, and also living in a landscape that's moving towards what you've said you wanted. And generally, you know, when you learn what you learn in these courses, there's quite a bit of ecology in it, and ecology is about how the world functions. And so if you're managing so that the world can do what it's always been trying to do for a very, very long period of time, fitting in with that instead of trying to bend it to your will is actually a very calming way to behave. So that's what we think about when we're managing. The landscape is in our mind the whole time. I never stop thinking about it, and when I'm driving around, I'm looking and trying to read what's happening in landscapes all over the place wherever I go. But then at home, when we're here, we're also, that sort of management is it's very nice to live in a landscape that's improving rather than falling apart.